I had no idea what to expect from Sophia's Wedding Part 2, but I'm pleased to say it was pretty brilliant. This is the 7th episode of the 4th season of The Golden Girls, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And obviously, the bulk of the episode focuses on Sophia and Max, but we also have a subplot with Dorothy, who has started smoking, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. Sophia and Max arrive home from their honeymoon, and we find out they haven't got a place to stay yet, which is something that I did query in the previous discussion. I did wonder if Max would move in with them, if Sophia would move out. I didn't feel like that's something that would happen, so I didn't know what to expect, but they haven't found a place, so they stay with the girls, and we cut to 3 weeks later. Dorothy is in the shower, and Max enters the bathroom, and he gets undressed, and he goes in the shower. My initial assumption was that he thought it was Sophia. I didn't ever think he was getting in the shower with Dorothy. And it takes a second for Dorothy to realise what's happening. And then she screams and Max screams, and then one by one, the other three come into the room and scream in succession. And it's really funny and very, very well done. And it's a delightful scene. We then go down to the beach with Sophia and Max, and they have a really lovely time. And we don't get a lot of movement in this scene. It doesn't initially move the narrative forward too much on its own, at least. But we have this lovely scene where they're dancing to music, and it's rather pleasant. And then we find out that actually they bought a concession stand. There's a concession stand down at the beach where the musician was playing, and they should have used that money for a place, but instead they emptied their savings to have another go at this pizza business. And initially, the girls were not supportive of this because it seems like a weird way to blow all of your money, especially when you've not exactly been in a business for a very long time. But quite quickly, once they see everything built up and it's ready to start serving pizzas, they offer their support, and it's really lovely. But they have to offer more than support because Sophia and Max were outside so long in the cold that they ended up coming down with a really bad cold. So the girls have to go and make the pizzas. And there's one point, I don't condone this, but it's very funny, when Dorothy puts the pot on Rose's head and gives it a bash. And Rose said something stupid, and Dorothy threatened her with the pot again, which was just really entertaining. Unfortunately, there are no customers, so they decide to scream shark. And this was actually Sophia's idea. And they scream shark, and then everybody comes running. And they do really well, and it seems like the business is going to be really lucrative. And then we find out it's burnt down. And they go down there, and it's burnt to a crisp. And Dorothy realises this must be her fault. She was the last to leave. She told the others to go on ahead because she wanted to have a secret cigarette. And she realises she must have burnt the place down. And we have this great exchange between Sophia and Dorothy that made me think, actually. Dorothy's saying all of these things about how she feels guilty, she feels terrible. Sophia's not saying anything, and Dorothy says to her, "If you don't say anything, I'll feel twice as bad." To which Sophia responds, "I know I'm not an amateur at this," which I just loved. I'd never really considered that before, but the fact that Sophia is giving her the silent treatment is more effective than shouting and yelling and getting mad at her, making her feel guilty. It was quite interesting. I rather enjoyed that moment. And then, obviously, the fire department are there, and we find out that actually it wasn't because of Dorothy. We learn this really quickly. It was just because of a faulty part, which definitely, obviously, helps to ease her guilt a little bit. And then we end with Sophia and Max having a conversation, and this starts because they both realise they didn't really enjoy setting up the pizza stand. It just didn't feel the way they thought it would, so they're not going to bother starting again with the insurance money. And this leads them onto the conversation that their marriage doesn't feel the way they think it should. And they both realised that they confused great friendship with true love. And I think that was a really eye-opening moment, and obviously helped us realise what was going to happen with the future of this relationship. So it was nice to wrap everything up that way. I really enjoyed the episode. If I'd had to guess what was going to happen in the next episode, in part 2, well, I couldn't. I had no idea. And I have to say, it was pretty great. Really solid episode. Personal highlights would have to be Actually, when Sophia and Max came home from their Disney honeymoon, I rather enjoyed the dialogue there. Everybody screaming in succession when they came into the bathroom. I thought that was a strange cacophony that I rather enjoyed. And the reveal of the pizza stand was quite nice as well. Rose with the pot on her head. Well, that was funny, but Dorothy threatening her with the pot again I thought was quite funny, but also not great for hygiene. I can't imagine that would be a good thing to do in a pizza stand. And Sophia saying she's not an amateur at this when she was guilting Dorothy. Great episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Sophia's Wedding Part 2 was not something I ever would have predicted, and I thought it was pretty brilliant.